Commander Kyung's 6 tentacles shook as he pressed the emergency broadcast button. The alien's blue skin had turned pale with fear. His research ship Quantum Dawn was dying around him, and he knew it. Red warning lights flashed across the bridge. Computer screens went dark one by one. The hum of the engines grew weaker with each passing minute. 23 crew members from 6 different alien worlds were trapped together in the most dangerous part of space. Dr. Nari rushed to her station, her forearms moving quickly across the control panels. She was the smartest scientist on the ship, but right now her knowledge felt useless. The numbers on her screen made her stomach drop. "Commander," she called out, her voice tight with worry. "Life support is failing fast. We have maybe 6 hours of breathable air left." Kyung closed, his large black eyes for a moment. 6 hours. That was all the time they had left to live. The ship had been on a routine mission. They were studying strange energy patterns near a dead star system. The readings were unlike anything they had ever seen before. The science team was excited. This discovery could change everything they knew about space. But then something went terribly wrong. The hyperdrive made a sound like breaking glass. Sparks flew from the engine room. The ship's main computer started showing error messages faster than anyone could read them. Within minutes, they were stuck. The void sector was the worst place in known space to be stranded. No trade routes passed through here. No military patrols came this way. It was empty, cold, and deadly. Most ships avoided it completely. Kyung had been sending distress signals for 2 hours now. His messages went out in 12 different languages, broadcasting on every frequency he could think of. But space was vast and empty. The chances of anyone hearing them were almost zero. Engineer Bomb worked desperately in the engine room. His people were known for being able to fix anything, but even he was running out of ideas. Every system he tried to repair would fail again within minutes. "The power core is unstable," he reported over the comm system. "If it goes, we go with it." Dr. Nari looked at the faces around her. There was Jin from the water world of Aquatica, his gills fluttering with anxiety. There was Juan, whose people could see in complete darkness. But even his enhanced vision couldn't help them now. Scientists, engineers, researchers, all the brightest minds from their worlds, and none of them could solve this problem. The ship groaned as another system failed. The artificial gravity flickered, making everyone feel weightless for a scary moment before it came back online. Kyung kept broadcasting their position. "This is Commander Kyung of the research vessel Quantum Dawn. We are stranded in grid section 7 Alpha of the Void Sector. Our ship is losing power. We have limited life support. Please, if anyone can hear this, we need immediate rescue." The response was always the same. Silence. The crew knew what this meant. They were going to die out here, alone in the dark. The emergency meeting room on the Hegemony homeworld was filled with the most powerful beings in known space. Admiral Vorth stood at the center, his scaled hands clasped behind his back. The holographic display showed the location of the Quantum Dawn, a tiny dot lost in the vast emptiness of the void sector. Around the curved table sat representatives from dozens of alien civilizations. They had built the greatest alliance in galactic history. Their technology was advanced beyond imagination. Their fleets could cross entire star systems in hours. But right now, none of that seemed to matter. "Let's review the facts," Admiral Vorth said, his voice echoing in the chamber. "The research vessel Quantum Dawn is stranded in grid section 7 Alpha. 23 crew members from 6 member worlds, all highly trained scientists." He pressed a button, and the display changed to show rescue calculations. Numbers and probabilities filled the air in glowing text. "Our closest rescue ship is 4 hours away. The journey into the void sector would take another 3 hours. The rescue operation itself would require at least 2 hours in hostile space." The representatives shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Everyone knew what was coming next. "Based on our analysis, any rescue mission has a 97.3% chance of failure. We would likely lose not just the Quantum Dawn, but also our rescue vessel and its crew. That's potentially 60 more lives at risk." Councillor Jung spoke up from her floating chair. "What about unmanned rescue drones?" "The energy storm's in." "That sector would disable them within minutes," Admiral Vorth replied. "The mathematics are clear. A rescue mission is not feasible." One by one, the council members cast their votes. The decision was unanimous. The Quantum Dawn and its crew were officially declared an acceptable loss. Back on the dying ship, Commander Kyung received the transmission. His translator device delivered the message in his native language, but the words hit him like a physical blow. Rescue mission denied. Crew classified as acceptable casualties. We regret this decision. End transmission. Kyung stared at the message for a long moment. His people, the Kethmori, prided themselves on logical thinking. They made decisions based on facts and probabilities, not emotions. He understood the council's reasoning. It made perfect sense. That didn't make it hurt any less. He turned to face his crew. Their faces showed the same mix of understanding and despair. They had all heard the transmission. Well, said Dr. Nari, trying to keep her voice steady, I suppose that settles it. Engineer Bomb laughed bitterly. 23 of the smartest beings in the galaxy, and we can't even save ourselves. Kyung made an announcement over the ship's comm system. Attention all crew, we have approximately 4 hours of life support remaining. I suggest we use this time to record messages for our families. The crew scattered throughout the ship, each finding a quiet corner to make their final recordings. Dr. Nari sat in her lab, clutching her research datapad. 5 years of groundbreaking work was stored inside, discoveries that could revolutionize space travel and energy production. All of it would die with her. She started recording her message, her voice breaking as she spoke to her family back home. The crew of the Quantum Dawn had been sitting in silence for almost an hour. Most of them had finished recording their final messages. The ship felt like a tomb, quiet except for the occasional groan of failing metal and the hiss of recycled air. Dr. Nari was reviewing her research one last time when a harsh crackling sound filled the bridge. Everyone looked up in surprise. The communication system hadn't made a sound in hours. Static burst from the speakers, loud and chaotic. It sounded like someone was trying to break through a storm of interference. Then through the noise came a voice. It was rough and unfamiliar. The accent was strange, unlike anything in their language databases. The words came in broken, choppy. Galactic Standard. This ship in trouble. We hear you. Hold on, coming for you. Engineer Juno nearly fell off his chair. He scrambled to the communication panel, his clawed hands moving quickly across the controls. Did anyone else hear that? He asked, his voice shaking with disbelief. Commander Kyung moved to the sensor station. Play it again. The message repeated, clearer this time, but still rough around the edges. Hold on. Coming for you. We find you. Soon? Juno laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. This has to be some kind of cosmic interference. Maybe radio waves bouncing off the dead star. No one's stupid enough to come into the void sector. But even as he spoke, something appeared on the long-range sensors. It was faint at first, just a blip at the edge of their detection range. Then it grew stronger. Commander, Dr. Nari called, out, staring at her screen. I'm reading an energy signature. It's heading straight for us. Kyung rushed to look over her shoulder. The readings made no sense. The approaching vessel's energy pattern was completely chaotic. It looked like someone had taken parts from a dozen different ship designs and somehow made them work together. That's impossible, Juno muttered. Look at those power fluctuations. That ship should have exploded hours ago. The energy signature was unlike anything in their databases. It wasn't hegemony technology. It wasn't from any of the known alien civilizations. The power output kept changing, spiking and dropping in patterns that seemed random. Maybe it's a ghost ship, suggested Jin nervously. Something left over from the old wars. But Dr. Nari was studying the readings more carefully. No, this is different. These aren't the signatures of dead technology. This ship is very much alive. It's just built differently than anything we've ever seen. The transmission came again, stronger now. We see you on sensors. Hold position. Do not try to move ship. We come to you. Commander Kyung felt something he hadn't felt in hours. Hope. It was small and fragile, but it was there. Who are you? He broadcast back. What species? What ship? The response took a moment to come through the static. When it did, the word was completely unfamiliar. We are humans. Ship name is Courage. We help you now. The crew looked at each other in confusion. Humans. none of them had ever heard of. Say a species called humans. They weren't in any of the galactic databases, but someone was coming for them. Against all logic, against all odds, someone had entered the deadliest sector of space to save them. The impossible had just become possible. Space twisted and bent as something massive dropped out of hyperspace. The crew of the Quantum Dawn pressed, their faces against the viewports, expecting to see a sleek rescue vessel like the ones in the hegemony. What they saw instead made them question their own eyes. The ship that appeared before them looked like someone had raided a junkyard and somehow made the pieces fly. Mismatched hull plates were welded together in a patchwork of different metals. Some sections were clearly from military vessels, others looked like they came from cargo ships. The whole thing was held together with what appeared to be metal cables and determination. "By the void," whispered Engineer Juno. "That thing actually flies?" But fly it did. The human ship moved with surprising grace despite its cobbled-together appearance. It positioned itself carefully next to the Quantum Dawn, and that's when the Chi real shock began. Captain Minho's voice came through the comm system, clear and confident. "This is Captain Minho of the Earth vessel Courage. We're here to get you out of this mess." Before Commander Kyung could respond, he saw something that made his brain struggle to process what was happening. The human ship's airlocks opened, and figures in spacesuits began floating out into the vacuum. But these weren't normal spacesuits. They looked like someone had taken regular clothing and added air tanks with duct tape. The helmets appeared to be made from clear plastic bowls. The tools they carried were even more bizarre. Are they actually going outside?" Dr. Nari stammered. One human floated past their viewport, waving cheerfully. The creature inside the makeshift suit looked remarkably similar to several species they knew, but smaller and more compact. It carried what looked like a kitchen mixing device that had been modified with cutting tools. "This is Engineer Tay," came a new voice over the radio. "Don't worry, folks, we've done this before, well, sort of." The humans began working on the Quantum Dawn's hull with an enthusiasm that bordered on insanity. They used their improvised tools to patch holes and reconnect severed cables. One human was literally hammering on a piece of equipment with what appeared to be a cooking pot. "They're going to kill themselves," Jin said in horror. But the humans worked with incredible efficiency. They seemed to instinctively know how to fix things, even though their technology was clearly centuries behind anything the hegemony possessed. Where alien engineers would run complex calculations and follow strict safety protocols, the humans just looked at a problem and figured out a solution on the spot. "Okay, that should do it," announced Engineer Tay. "Try your life support now." "Doctor," Nari checked her readings with disbelief. "It's working. The oxygen levels are stabilizing. How did they—" "Don't ask too many questions," Captain Minho interrupted with a chuckle. "We're not exactly following the manual here. Now we need to get you all off that ship before something else breaks." Through the viewport, they could see more humans preparing what looked like escape pods made from shipping containers. Each one had been fitted with tiny rocket engines and life support systems that appeared to be built from spare parts. "Those things will never work," Juno muttered, but somehow they did. The humans had taken the impossible and made it routine. They worked in the deadly vacuum of space, like it was just another day at the office, using tools that shouldn't function and methods that defied every engineering principle the aliens knew. And it was working. The docking procedure was unlike anything the alien crew had ever witnessed. Instead of the careful, computer-controlled process they were used to, the human ship simply rammed itself against the Quantum Dawn with a loud metallic clang that shook both vessels. "Did they just crash into us?" Engineer Juno asked in shock. Captain Minho's voice came through the comm, sounding completely calm. "Docking complete. Sorry about the rough landing. Our automatic systems are, well, let's just say they're more like suggestions." Suddenly alarms started blaring throughout the human ship. A new voice cut through the noise, harsh and commanding. "Captain Minho, this is Admiral Chen of Earth Command. You are ordered to abort this mission immediately. The risk is too great." The alien crew held their breath, waiting for the humans to leave them behind, just like the hegemony had done. But Captain Minho's response surprised them. "With respect, Admiral, we don't leave people behind. Minho out." He cut the transmission without another word. Dr. Nari couldn't believe what she had just heard. He just refused orders from his own military? "Looks like it," Commander Kyung replied, a hint of admiration in his voice. The airlock between the ships opened with a hiss, and the first human stepped through. Dr. Hana was smaller than most of the alien crew, but she moved with the confidence of someone who had faced impossible situations before. Her brown hair was tied back practically, and her clothes were covered in grease stains and tool marks. She took one look around the failing ship and immediately got to work. From a bag that seemed impossibly large for her size, she pulled out an assortment of items that made no sense together. Rolls of silver tape, metal containers that smelled like coffee, electronic components, and what appeared to be cooking utensils. "Okay, let's see what we're working with," she muttered, examining the life support controls. "Oh, this is bad, really bad." The ship's reactor was making ominous grinding sounds, and warning lights flashed everywhere. According to every safety manual in existence, they should evacuate immediately. Instead, Dr. Hana started tearing apart the control panels. "What are you doing?" Dr. Nari asked in alarm. "Fixing things," Hana replied simply. She began connecting wires in ways that definitely weren't in any engineering textbook. "Hand me that coffee can, would you?" Dr. Nari stared at the metal container. "You want to use this for life support. The metal's the right thickness, and it's already the perfect size. Sometimes the best solution is the simplest one." Within minutes, Hana had created a completely new air filtration system using spare parts, the coffee cans, and an alarming amount of duct tape. She connected it to the ship's main systems with wires that looked like they came from a dozen different sources. "This should not work," Dr. Nari whispered as she watched the oxygen levels not only stabilize but actually improve. "Yeah, well, somebody forgot to tell the oxygen that," Hana grinned. Meanwhile, other humans were helping evacuate the alien crew. They didn't use fancy transport pods or advanced safety equipment. Instead, they jury-rigged harnesses from rope and metal clips, creating makeshift stretchers for injured crew members. "Is this safe?" Jin asked nervously, as a human strapped him into what looked like a modified camping chair. "Probably not," the human replied cheerfully, "but it's better than staying here." One by one, the alien crew was transferred to the human ship. Each rescue was accomplished with methods that should have failed spectacularly, but somehow worked perfectly. Walking through the human ship felt like entering a completely different universe. The rescued alien crew followed their human guides through corridors that defied every principle of spacecraft design they had ever learned. Where hegemony ships were sterile and perfectly organized, the Courage was a maze of controlled chaos. Pipes ran along the walls in seemingly random directions, painted in bright colors with handwritten labels. "Hot water, don't touch," read one sign. "Emergency chocolate stash, break glass in case of bad day," read another. Dr. Nari stopped in front of a control panel that looked like it had been assembled by someone with a sense of humor. The buttons were different shapes and sizes, some clearly salvaged from other machines. A coffee mug held down a stack of important-looking papers, and someone had taped a picture of a small furry earth animal next to the main display. "This is your navigation system?" she asked in amazement. "Works better than you'd think," replied Engineer Tay, who was busy welding something that appeared to be a kitchen colander over a small hole in the wall. "The important thing isn't how pretty it looks. The important thing is that it gets the job done." He gestured around the corridor with his welding torch. "See, our philosophy is simple. If something can break, it will break. So we make sure there's always another way to do the same job." Commander Kyung examined a section of wall where at least 6 different backup systems were crammed into a space meant for one. "This is highly inefficient." "Maybe," Tay grinned. "But when the main power goes out, and the backup power goes out, and the backup to the backup goes out, we've still got 3 more ways to keep the lights on." The aliens discovered that every important system on the ship had not just one backup, but multiple backups built from completely different technologies. The navigation computer had a mechanical backup made from gears and springs. The life support system had a manual backup that could be operated by hand. Even the artificial gravity had a backup that used spinning sections of the ship. Jin found himself staring at a section of corridor where someone had written instructions directly on the wall in permanent marker. "If main computer fails, use..." Backup computer. If backup computer fails, use calculator and pray. If calculator fails, use fingers and toes. You write on your ship's walls? He asked a passing human. Sure, the human replied. Information needs to be where people can find it when they need it. What's the point of keeping it locked away in some computer that might not work when you really need help? The handwritten notes were everywhere. Some were technical instructions, others were helpful reminders. Check oxygen levels twice a day was written next to an air vent. Bang 3 times if stuck was painted next to an emergency hatch. Don't. Panic, it's probably fixable, appeared in several locations. Dr. Hana showed them the engine room, which looked like a mechanical jungle. Dozens of different machines hummed and clicked together in harmony, connected by an intricate web of pipes, wires and what appeared to be garden hoses. Each engine is built differently, she explained proudly. This one runs on hydrogen, this one uses solar power, this one burns alcohol if we get desperate. If any 2 of them fail, the others can still get us home. Engineer Juno was fascinated, despite himself. But the complexity must make repairs incredibly difficult. Not really, Hana shrugged. When something breaks, we just fix it with whatever we have handy. Yesterday I repaired the water recycler using parts from a broken coffee maker and some wire from a music player. She pointed to a sign hanging above the main engine console. The human way. If it's stupid but it works, it's not stupid. The T. Aliens were beginning to understand that humans didn't just build ships. They built relationships with their ships. The massive hegemony rescue fleet dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation. 12 gleaming vessels arranged themselves in a precise geometric pattern, their hulls reflecting the distant starlight like polished mirrors. Each ship was a masterpiece of engineering, sleek and powerful, representing the finest technology in known space. Admiral Vorth stood on the bridge of his flagship, expecting to find the wreckage of the Quantum Dawn and the bodies of its crew floating in the void. Instead, his sensors detected something that made him question his own equipment. Sir, his communications officer reported, I'm reading life. Signs? All 23 crew members of the Quantum Dawn appear to be alive and well. Impossible, Admiral Vorth growled. Run a full diagnostic on our sensors. Sensors are functioning perfectly, sir. The crew is aboard an unknown vessel. It's right next to us. Admiral Vorth looked out the main viewport and saw something. That made his scaled jaw drop. The human ship Courage hung in space like a mechanical island, its patchwork hull somehow radiating confidence, despite looking like it should have fallen apart years ago. This is Admiral Vorth of the Hegemony Fleet, he broadcast on all frequencies. Unknown vessel, identify yourself immediately. Captain Minho's voice came back clear and relaxed. This is Captain Minho of the Earth ship Courage. We've got your people here, Admiral. They're all safe and sound. Within an hour, Admiral Vorth had transported over to the human vessel with a full diplomatic team. What he found aboard defied everything he thought he knew about spacefaring civilizations. The alien crew of the Quantum Dawn was not just alive, but actually looked healthier than they had before their ship failed. They were sitting around a large table in what the humans called a mess hall, sharing food and stories with their rescuers. This is highly irregular, Admiral Vorth announced as he entered the room. These crew members must be quarantined immediately. We need full medical scans, psychological evaluations, and complete debriefings before they can return to Hegemony space. Captain Minho looked up from where he was sharing something called coffee with Commander Kyung. Admiral, with all due respect, these people have been through enough. They're going home. You don't understand the protocols involved, Admiral, Vorth insisted. There are procedures that must be followed, forms that must be filed, safety regulations that— Feel free to file all the paperwork you want, Minho interrupted politely. But you can do it while we get these folks back to their families. Admiral Vorth was not used to being interrupted. Your methods are unorthodox, he said, watching as human crew members continued their ongoing repairs to both ships. One human was fixing a sophisticated hegemony scanner using what appeared to be a kitchen timer and some colored wire. Your methods left them to die, Captain Minho replied evenly, his voice never losing its calm tone. The words hit Admiral Vorth like a physical blow. Around the room, the rescued alien crew members looked up from their conversations. The silence stretched uncomfortably. The mathematics clearly showed, Admiral Vorth began. The mathematics showed you were scared, Minho cut him off. Math doesn't save lives, people do. Dr. Nari stood up from her seat. Admiral, these humans risked everything to save us when our own government wouldn't. Captain Minho's crew entered the void sector, knowing they might not come back. We had procedures to follow, Admiral Vorth said weakly. So did we, Captain Minho replied. We followed the one that says you don't abandon people who need help. Engineer Tay looked up from where he was showing Juno how to repair a power coupling with spare parts. Sir, if you want to arrest us for saving lives, go ahead. But these people are going home today. The story spread faster than anyone expected. Within days, every news network in hegemony space was talking about the impossible rescue in the void sector. The footage was incredible. Grainy security camera recordings showing humans in makeshift spacesuits working on alien technology with tools that looked like kitchen equipment. On the water world of Aquatica, Jin's family watched in amazement as their son described his rescue on the evening news. They just showed up, he said, still sounding shocked. When our own people said it was impossible, these humans came anyway. The interview went viral across dozens of worlds. Social media exploded with discussions about the rescue. Some people called the humans crazy. Others called them heroes. But everyone was talking about what it meant. Commander Kyung found himself at the center of a galactic debate. Military officials from across the hegemony wanted to know how the humans had succeeded, where their own forces had failed. Kyung spoke at conferences, gave interviews and testified before government committees. For too long we've let mathematics make our moral decisions, he told the Galactic Defense Council. We calculated the risk and decided these lives weren't worth saving. But the humans didn't see numbers on a spreadsheet. They saw people who needed help. His speeches were passionate and direct. Survival isn't always about probability. Sometimes it's about who refuses to give up. Sometimes it's about who believes that every life has value, no matter what the computers say. The military establishment pushed back hard. Risk assessment saves lives, argued General Vex during one heated debate. We can't send rescue ships on suicide missions based on feelings. The humans proved it wasn't a suicide mission, Kyung replied. It was just a mission we were too afraid to attempt. Meanwhile, Dr. Nari was causing her own revolution in academic circles. Her research paper, Impossible Engineering Lessons from Human Ingenuity, challenged everything the scientific community thought they knew about technology and problem-solving. We've become so focused on perfection that we've forgotten about adaptation, she wrote. Human technology isn't more advanced than ours. In many ways, it's centuries behind. But they've mastered something we've lost, the ability to make anything, work with whatever they have available. Her paper included detailed analyses of the human repairs. She showed how Dr. Hana had created a working life support system using coffee cans and duct tape. She explained how Engineer Tay had patched a hull breach using kitchen equipment. Most importantly, she demonstrated that these primitive solutions were often more reliable than their high-tech equivalents. Universities across the galaxy began requiring her paper as mandatory reading. Engineering students started asking uncomfortable questions about their own training. Why do we need perfect conditions to work? One student asked during a lecture. Why can't we learn to improvise like the humans do? The changes weren't just academic. Rescue policies began shifting across multiple worlds. The rigid mathematical formulas that had governed emergency response for centuries were being questioned and revised. On the industrial world of Mechanicus, the government announced new rescue protocols. No citizen will be abandoned based solely on statistical probability, declared Chancellor Bolt. If there's any reasonable chance of success, we will attempt rescue. Other worlds followed suit. The Hegemony Council found itself under pressure to revise its own emergency response guidelines. Admiral Vorth, who had initially opposed the human methods, quietly began implementing training programs that emphasized adaptability over protocol. But perhaps the most significant change was in how different species began to view each other. The humans had shown that advanced technology meant nothing without the will to help others. They had proven that sometimes the most important tool wasn't a computer or a weapon. It was simply refusing to accept that someone couldn't be saved. The rescue in the Void sector had done more than save 23 lives. It had changed how an entire galaxy thought about what was possible. The new Academy building stood on the neutral moon of Harmony Station, halfway between Earth and the hegemony capital. It looked like nothing anyone had ever seen before, a perfect blend of human practicality and alien elegance. The main structure was built with advanced hegemony materials, but the design included human touches like large windows, comfortable, gathering spaces, and hand-painted signs pointing to different departments. Commander Kyung walked through the halls on opening day, still amazed that this place existed. 6 months ago, he had been preparing to die in the cold vacuum of space. Now he was helping to train the next generation of rescue specialists. The first class was small but diverse. 24 cadets from 12 different worlds sat in the main lecture hall, representing species that had never worked together before. There were Kethmori like Kyung himself, water-breathing Aquatians, the crystal-skinned silicates, and even a few humans who had traveled from Earth to learn about alien technology. Captain Minho entered the classroom carrying what appeared to be a toolbox made from spare ship parts. His casual approach to teaching had initially shocked the alien instructors, but the results spoke for themselves. "Good morning, everyone," Minho said, setting his improvised toolbox on the desk. "Today we're going to learn about the most important tool in any rescue operation." He opened the box and pulled out a simple hammer. "This?" asked Cadet Yoon, a young human who had joined the program to understand alien technology better. "Not the hammer," Minho grinned. "The willingness to use it. The most advanced technology in the galaxy means nothing if you're not willing to get your hands dirty and help people." Commander Kyung stepped forward to address the class. His voice carried the authority of someone who had experienced both abandonment and salvation. "For generations, we've been taught that rescue operations are about calculations and risk assessment," he began. "We've been told that some situations are simply too dangerous, that some lives are not worth the risk." He gestured toward a large display screen showing the Academy's motto in multiple languages, "No one left behind." The humans taught us something different. They showed us that every life has value, regardless of the mathematics involved. They proved that sometimes the most important decision isn't what's logical, it's what's right. The training program was unlike anything that had existed before. Cadets learned traditional hegemony rescue techniques alongside human improvisation methods. They studied advanced alien technology, but they also learned how to fix things with duct tape and determination. Dr. Hana, now the Academy's chief engineering instructor, had her students practice repairs using deliberately limited resources. "Pretend your fancy equipment doesn't work," she would tell them. "Now figure out how to save lives using only what's in this junk drawer." The cadets learned that the best rescue teams weren't the ones with perfect equipment. They were the ones who refused to give up when things went wrong. 3 months into the program, the Academy received its first real test. Her cargo ship carrying colonists had suffered engine failure near the dangerous asteroid fields of Chaos. The situation was eerily similar to the Quantum Dawn incident. The rescue call went out to the Academy's emergency response team, a mixed crew of instructors and advanced cadets. The team included humans, Kethmori, Aquatians, and Silicates all working together. As their rescue ship prepared to launch, the communications officer opened a channel to the stranded vessel. "This is Rescue Team Alpha from the human hegemony." "Academy?" came the immediate response. "We hear your distress call. Hold on, we're coming for you." The words echoed across space, carrying with them a promise that no one would be left behind ever again.